Hey, have you ever thought about having a podcast of your very own? If so, great news. Spotify has a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere and even earn money. It's all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. So, Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. So, no matter what your setup is like, you can get started creating as soon as today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify, and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify, so that's pretty cool. And with Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since I discovered Spotify for Podcasters, I really just feel like it's taken my podcasting to a whole nother level. So I highly recommend you give it a try if a podcast is something that you've been thinking about as well. Just download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. Hey there, I'm Julie, and this is the Married to Addiction podcast. If you're here, then you're probably what I call my secret sister. We're in a situation we never asked to be in and fighting a battle we never wanted to fight. We're faith-filled women who are married to an alcoholic, and it affects every inch of our lives. If that sounds like you, then this is a safe place for you to land. Married to Addiction is a faith-based podcast where I help you find the tools and strength you need to navigate your husband's addiction without losing yourself in the process. So please subscribe and tune in as often as you can, because your husband's recovery is important, but so is yours. Hey there, if you are a regular listener, then today's sponsor is going to sound familiar to you because I've shared about Your Praying Friend in some previous episodes. But if you're new here, I want to direct you to my interview with Mariah Roan, who is the founder of Your Praying Friend. I interviewed her back in episode 64. It's called A Counselor's Perspective, and you should definitely go listen to that one when you have a second. I felt like it was a really powerful episode, and she's really great. Mariah is both a substance abuse counselor and an author. She offers online support at extremely affordable rates and is super passionate about serving God by serving others. Also, one of the best ways that she's able to offer support is through the sales of her books. When you do something as small as purchasing a faith-based notebook from yourprayingfriend.com, you are literally helping someone else receive the counseling they need at a price they can afford. We all use notebooks, so why not commit to shopping with a company that shares your values? I want to encourage you to just try to make this one simple change. Instead of buying your next notebook somewhere else, shop with Your Praying Friend. All of their faith-based designs ship through Amazon, so you'll receive your book super fast. This is one little change you can make to support a small Christian business, and remember that it also costs $0 to tell somebody about Your Praying Friend. So be sure to go join their Facebook group. It's just called the Your Praying Friend Facebook group. Also, like their page and invite your friends to do the same. Just do anything you can to support Your Praying Friend because they support us, and we really appreciate that. So be sure to visit www.yourprayingfriend.com today. Hello, and welcome into episode 76 of the Married to Addiction podcast. Today's episode is called Apologies and I Love Yous. So today we're going to be talking about something that I bet has affected a lot of you. It affected me regularly when my husband was really addicted. I remember when he was addicted, we would have a lot of fights, a lot of times in the evening when I would get home from work and he'd be inebriated, as expected when I got home. We'd have a big, huge blow up, knock down, drag out. And then the next morning or the next day, he would apologize to me and tell me he loved me. Most times, I didn't even want to hear it. I didn't even want to hear it because I had heard it so many times before, yet nothing had changed. He was still drinking, and I knew that he would likely keep drinking. So an apology from him, and even an I love you, just started to feel empty. It felt insincere. Sometimes I would even mutter under my breath after he would say those things, something like, yeah, whatever, actions speak louder than words. But then I learned more about addiction. You've often heard me say that learning more about addiction was really pivotal for me, and it 100% was. It changed everything. It changed the way I viewed almost everything where his addiction was concerned and even where he was concerned. And I really didn't expect that. I didn't think I needed to learn more about addiction. I thought I knew. I know plenty about addiction, okay? I live with it every single day. I have a front row seat that I never wanted to have. I know everything I need to know about addiction. I know more than I want to know about addiction, but I didn't. I didn't. And I didn't know that I didn't. And that's why it's so important to me to share with you that you probably don't either. And it's so important that you do learn more. When I went to Family Week at my husband's treatment center is where I learned more about addiction. I heard from doctors. I heard from therapists. I heard from counselors. I heard from recovered addicts, some of which who were the therapists and counselors now because they had been through it themselves and decided that they wanted to help others. And I just remember sitting there when I would hear these talks from these people, and I feel like my mouth was literally hanging open because I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. And there was a lot that I didn't know. Huge light bulb went off for me. Lots of them, actually. I learned that my husband had been trapped on so many levels, psychologically, physically, mentally, etc. And I learned that it was an incredibly difficult trap to escape from. I also learned that when he told me he was sorry, he 100% meant it. When he said he loved me, he 100% meant it, even though he was going to go the next day or even later that day and drink again. He meant those things. Hearing those things can seem empty to us because we don't understand. We haven't been on that side. We haven't learned about addiction. We don't get how somebody can be sorry for something and keep doing it. Like it just doesn't make sense if we don't understand on a deeper level. But them saying those things to us, them saying, I'm sorry, them saying, I love you, they're really important because, like I said, in that moment, they 100% do mean those things. But it's also one of the few ways that the alcoholic feels that they can still connect with you because they know you're mad and they know you're hurt and they know you're disappointed and they know you're frustrated. But they tell you those things in spite of all that because they really mean them. It's often really, truly heartfelt on their behalf. And it's actually kind of, going out of their comfort zone to say those things because they know you probably don't want to hear it, or they know you are probably going to just tune it out. On their side, it usually comes from a place of immense shame and guilt. My husband was sorry. He was really, really sorry. He was so sorry that he tried to take his life on 2 separate occasions because he hated what was happening to our family, but he truly felt powerless to change it. He was trapped by addiction, just as I learned at that treatment center. If this isn't making sense to you, or if this is, the first or even, second, third time you've heard this and it just, you haven't really gone down the path of learning more because you don't feel like you need to and you don't feel like you want to, I want to really implore you to start doing some homework to learn more about addiction because it will change everything for you. Things are harder for you than they need to be right now because you don't have this understanding. And I know that that doesn't make sense if you're on the other side of this and you really haven't learned a lot about it. But I promise you, what I'm speaking is truth. And I know that because of my own personal experience of feeling the way you feel right now and going completely on the other side of things once I started to learn more. So I want you to first go back a few episodes of my podcast. I don't remember the actual episode number, but it was the interview that I did pretty recently, actually. It's only 3 or 4 episodes back. Listen to the interview and discussion that I had with Dr. Higgins. That's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do, and this one will take a little bit longer, but it's so worth it, is to go to YouTube and search for Dr. Kevin McCauley. That's McCauley. Dr. Kevin McCauley's talk called Is Addiction Really a Disease? That is a video that's, I want to say, around an hour long, but essential information for the wife of an alcoholic. There is also a book that I recommend regularly. It is called Alcohol Explained by William Porter. It is actually meant to be read by the addict or the alcoholic themselves, but it is incredibly beneficial for us as wives. Trust me on this. The bottom line is you really need to learn more about addiction. When God prompted me to create this platform, He was real clear that He wanted me to do two things. He wanted me to go find the wives that were hurting and needed help and bring them to Him. And He wanted me to make sure that I also shared more about the husband side and more about the understanding piece of it, because it is so important. It is that important. When I started learning more about addiction and I really got that true grasp around it, it changed things between me and my husband drastically. And it will likely change everything for you too, because it changed everything for me first. And then it started being beneficial in my relationship with him. So I want to leave you with a little bit more food for thought. So as I said at the beginning, we tend to tune out and dismiss our husband's apologies, right? We feel like they're empty. We feel like they're, pointless. But what if we brought our prayers of apologies for our wrongdoings to God, and He dismissed us, and He dismissed our words, and He dismissed our prayers, and He dismissed our requests for forgiveness, because He knew we were just going to go do wrong again. Because we are. You and I, when we go to God and we apologize and we ask for forgiveness for something, we're probably going to do it again, or we're going to do something else, because we're human. But if we were dismissed by God when we asked that, when in that moment we really meant it, how would that make us feel? We truly are sorry when we ask for forgiveness, right? We truly are sorry. But we are also human, so there will most likely be a next time, just like there probably will be with our husbands. Just a little bit of food for thought for you. I hope that's been helpful for you. I thank you so much for listening, as always, and I will see you next time. Hey, one more quick thing before I let you go today. Do you follow Married to Addiction on either Instagram or Facebook, or both? If not, I would love to have you join me over there. It's a great place to stay connected with everything that's happening with Married to Addiction. I post updates about my podcast episodes, of course. I post about my freebies. I post about my programs. I post encouragement in the way of Bible verses and things like that. I also post just like some helpful little teaching nuggets sometimes too. So I really think that you would get a lot of value out of that as the wife of an alcoholic. And I would love to have you join me on either Facebook or Instagram, or both. You can find me at facebook.com/married to addiction, or just at married to addiction on Instagram. I hope to see you there.